All right. Good morning again. It is Sunday, the 17th of January, 2021. And we're here today to talk about the Dark Mother. So you can see on my altar here, I have a lot of images of the Divine Feminine. And first of all, Mother Mary, the miraculous medal. This is an image of Mother Mary after her ascension, standing on the earth, standing on a snake with her arms down, pouring light into the world. And Mother Mary, the Madonna with child. And then we have this is my Hindu symbol because I don't have the Divine Feminine Hindu statue right now. This is Tara, Buddhist Tara, and Kuan Yin. And there are lots of others in other traditions that represent the feminine energy of the mother. So in the Christian tradition, well, in the Catholic and some other traditions, generally that's Mother Mary. But when Protestantism came, they kind of threw Mother Mary out as the Divine Feminine. They threw her right out. So as mystics, we come to know Mother Mary as the incarnation of the Divine Feminine, just as Jesus is the incarnation of the Divine Masculine. So we have Christ and Sophia. And that was the name of the order that I was trained in, the Order of Christ Sophia, which I was very much drawn to because there was not just a picture of Jesus on the altar, but a picture of Jesus and Mary. So we're going to swing the pendulum a little bit in the direction of the Divine Feminine for a bit today, and also in our Lenten exercises that we'll be doing coming up here. And the reason I put the Dark Mother on the Facebook page, that's the Polish Black Madonna, it's called, that image, the Black Madonna. So when I was researching that a little bit, there were these really silly things like, oh, her face turned black because of, candle smoke, or, they're trying to make some reason why this image of Mother Mary was painted in this way with black skin. And of course, if her face turned black, the whole painting would turn black, not just her face. So that doesn't really hold water very well at all. So the other explanation for it is that the Divine Feminine was associated with the earth, with Mother Earth. And so that was the earth as in soil and things that are dark and fecund. Fecund means able to bring things into life. So in the spiritual world, that is the Divine Feminine is the unmanifest. So it is the darkness out of which light arises. And in the I'm going to say ridiculous masculine model that we find ourselves in today, every part of that feminine has been usurped and demonized and called sinful and tempting and weak. And what has been most insidious is that as the masculine power rose, not understanding what the feminine power was and not revering it as it should, it recognized that women hold power by being in connection with one another. And so the oppression was to separate and oppress, so women would lose the power of their connection. And that's why women got called witches, and covens that had women collectives got called evil and demons, and then a whole bunch of women were killed. And then once we're separated from one another, it's easier for the masculine to overwhelm the feminine. And that is the way that our world has gone and how we've gotten to where we are. So the Dark Mother has been, we've been indoctrinated with the idea that darkness is bad, that darkness is evil, that the Dark Mother is something to be avoided and feared. And in reality, if we think about the Mother Earth, we should have a healthy fear for the Mother Earth, right? I mean, she does things like, tsunamis and hurricanes and volcanoes and stuff, she got some power. It's the same as the Divine Feminine, the same as the feminine in form, which is all of us. Our group is all women at the moment, and each one of us has a huge amount of energy and power, which has been depleted by these notions that we don't or shouldn't, or that we can't handle ourselves, or that our power, our emotional and energetic power, is weak or unfounded or not, or irrational. So I was feeling a little pissed off about that this morning and last night as I was considering it. And I was looking at these powerhouses. I mean, who can diminish the power of the feminine? And what I thought was, as the feminine has been demonized, it kind of had to go undercover and arise as this very gentle thing that the man boys could handle and could say, oh, this is good. This part of woman is good. I like this soft part. I like this part that loves and this part that nourishes and nurtures. And so let's just have that. And if we don't get that, then we will beat, oppress, berate, ignore, separate, and so we have this world of this crazy like beauty contest, and women are now in competition with one another, which is exactly the opposite of the feminine mode of being. So instead of being in collaboration, we are put in competition. So we as women need to reject that and say, actually, my sisters and I have something going on here, and we'll be deciding now in this time that we're in that enough is enough, and that those sisters who have grown into elder women will gather together and say, enough of that bullshit now. Gentlemen, sit down and see who it is that you are trying to oppress. Now thankfully we are in a time where that energetically is no longer possible, but individually I see students, I see clients, I see people with wounding that still believe that because they're women, they're less than, or still have people trying to beat that either physically, emotionally, psychologically into them, that they have no power and that they're wrong and that everything about being woman is wrong, down to the way our bodies work and our menstrual cycle being called dirty or the curse or those kinds of things. So many women have internalized those messages that are berating to our feminine nature, and I don't know about you, but I had enough of that. And so I think that we should do something about it. And I think that the masculine should have some trepidation because they've really messed things up and they've held us down too long. And I mean us, the feminine in women, for sure, but also the feminine in men, because that aspect of men, barring that, we have intellectual monsters basically who do things for the sake of ideas rather than for the sake of humanity, which we've seen very clearly act out on the world stage. So, in my experience of spiritual development, I feel that feminine is rising, and you can see it all over the place with people like Marianne Williamson and Brene Brown and um, uh, what's her name, Glennon Doyle, and all kinds of other people popping up and saying, Oprah, all kinds of women all over the world saying enough, enough, enough. So when we gather as mystics, we look at that and say, where's my place in the uprising of the feminine spirit? Where's my place in not only fulfilling that in myself, but also bringing that into the world, supporting other women, empowering them, not playing into those forces of oppression like the competition between women, and saying we are going to stick together. And as we stick together, that masculine force will have to um, back off and probably should bow down a little bit and have some reverence for what we've got to say and the way that things move in us. So when I think about it in the role of like Mother Earth or Mother Mary, I say, our world is like it's like an adolescent or that needs to be reined in. And I don't know about you if you all have kids, but when my kids were adolescents and they were misbehaving, they sure knew what mama's power was, and so they didn't mess with that. They didn't want to mess with that at all. So, and why? Because it's the power of saying enough. It's like the mother lion who, when the cub goes too far, gives it a little snap or a roar and says, "Cut that out." So there's a lot of need now for us to say, "Cut that out." But the first job, as we saw in our blessing group this morning, is overcoming what we've been told about ourselves that has wounded us and kept us from knowing the truth about our own nature. So women have been trained to doubt themselves, to second guess themselves, to diminish their feelings, to dismiss them, just the way that the masculine has done to both women and men. And we won't survive if we don't get that back, because that is our instinct. And even when we were talking about the feeling of energy, women have a sensitivity to the movement of energy. And so we've been even talked out of that, so that we wonder, well, maybe this is some kind of like voodoo stuff or something. Maybe this is some kind of like black magic or something. Instead of saying this is the nature of our being, we can feel shit, you know. My kids, when they were little, they're like, Mom, how do you know everything? You know everything. You know what I'm doing, even when you're not in the room with me. How do you know that? And then I would say, I'm your mother, I know everything. I certainly used that to my advantage advantage at the time. But that gave them a healthy understanding of what that energy was. Well, the crone energy, or the elder woman energy, even more powerful than feeling and knowing and nurturing, is wisdom. It's wisdom that says, enough of that. We are driving ourselves to extinction here. Like this is not healthy for us or for the planet, and we need to stop it. So, and I don't mean that in the sense of like, certainly we had the 60s and the women's revolution and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that was an important part of the evolution. But what I'm talking about is every human being raising up the feminine qualities in themselves that would help us to reconnect, to find our power in that connection, and to nurture and nourish one another and care for one another over the ideas of the masculine mind that keep us from loving one another, from caring for one another. So I was speaking to someone the other day about connecting their head to their heart, the masculine and the feminine. And in the spiritual world, they say this is the longest trip, right, from the head to the heart. And this was a woman I was speaking to, and she said, and so I was helping her build this bridge, like, let's send some energy and light from here, where you spend a lot of time, down to here, like a bridge. Let's make a little golden bridge between the two. Let's connect them so that the mind can hear what the heart has to say. The masculine can hear what the feminine has to say. And the masculine is meant to respect, revere, defend, and defer to what the heart has to say. This is the place of the spirit in us. And this woman says, I can't feel anything in my heart. And fairly young woman. And I thought, wow, how sad is that we can be so disconnected from ourselves because of our experience in the world of having that part of us so devalued and made to look weak, instead of saying, this is the best sensor I have. This is the compass I want to follow. I don't want to follow the mental compass, because the earthly mental compass is competitive and cold, and the compass of the heart is collaborative and warm and loving. So just like in the relationship of the masculine and feminine in a partnership, the masculine should be deferring to, protecting, providing, and deferring to the movement of spirit through the feminine, and looking at that as a mystery, as grace, as beauty, not as something to crush or manipulate or keep in a closet or cover so that nobody can see it. I understand how men would be afraid of it, because it's a mystery, right? There are these this energy moving through women that is beautiful, powerful, and mysterious. But mysterious doesn't mean dark. It doesn't mean negative. It doesn't mean evil. It means mysterious. It means unknown to the rational mind. And that is why the rational mind should say, there's something here I don't understand. I should see what that is. And if that were to happen, which is the vision of the more beautiful world I know is possible, if that were to happen, we would have a world that would be focused on care for one another and our beautiful planet, the great mother, the dark mother of our planet. And that we needn't be afraid of that darkness. Most of religion has told us to go toward the light, and there's nothing wrong with going toward the light. But the light arose from the darkness. So beyond the light is the darkness, the unmanifest energy of the universe, what we might call God, or the source, or the ground of being, if we were Buddhist, the ground of being that we rise out of as spirits. So if you find yourself in a female body, then that means that you are an expression of the divine feminine, as we move from the oneness, unmanifest, into the duality of a world that has feminine and masculine separated by form. But the secret is that none of us have only one of those things. And so each aspect, each individual person has both the masculine and feminine in them, and both need to be balanced. And the heart does need to be the one that has the knowing. The wisdom is the Sophia. Christ is the action, the light, the manifestation, the how to make what is here come to be. So here's the place of the blueprint of what is to be. Here's the place of the power of manifesting what it is that we want. So all of these icons, Kuan Yin, Tara, Mother Mary, the Hindu have many, many names for the blessed, for the feminine energy, depending on the aspect of the energy. They have Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Parvati, Kali, they have a lot of them. Kali gets the bad name because she's kind of the one that they depict as a dark-skinned, demon-looking woman with, sharp teeth and her tongue sticking out and looks kind of crazy. And that energy is also part of the feminine, which is when enough is enough. It's serious. It's powerful. It's like no more of that. And women's sexuality has also been demonized and made dirty. So, there's, you're a virgin or a whore, and that whole dichotomy of like, can't we just be, women who have this body, who have these feelings, who have this energy moving through us, and it's a natural part of our being, the same as any other creature. And can it be distracting and get us off track? Sure. And can it be distracting for men? Apparently, because men seem to want to cover it up all over the world. They just want to cover everything up. Like, I don't want to see that because I'll be distracted by it, and I can't control myself. And so rather than learning to control themselves, they said, I'll cover that up or we'll kill you, basically. And so they did. So we're at a very, there's a lot of potential at the time that we live in right now to take back the power of all of our feminine aspects and to use the models that we have, these divine women, these divine energies of all different traditions, to bring us back to ourselves. So I have right here a little rosary, and y'all know we pray the rosary, and there a rose on my cross, and there's Mother Mary up there, my rose here. So the rose is a symbol of the Divine Mother, and it's beautiful and it smells good, and also it has thorns, and its stems are pretty tough. So the rose is a symbol of the Divine Mother, the energy of the Divine Mother. And when we pray the rosary, we're calling on all that energy to bring those things to the earth: care, loving, compassion, fierceness, the fierceness of the mother as well. And so being a devotee of Mother Mary, as I am, and of the Divine Feminine, as I am, I think it makes good sense for us to remember who we are, in fact, as creatures that come out of that dark mother, out of that dark space that is before manifestation, before creation, and that we can recognize that we have connection with that energy still in order to manifest what is in the world. But if we're broken and wounded and ashamed, we won't access that power. And that was by design. That brokenness and woundedness was a design to take the power away from women so that we wouldn't manifest. Now, not to say that that power couldn't go astray. We certainly all have the stories of like Cruella de Vil and all those, all the dark women. But if it's in balance, if it's for the purposes of love and the purposes of creation, then we don't really have to worry about it going astray. We can be as fierce as we need to be, as the situation requires of us. So we have a few weeks now before we go into Lent. And even though the Christmas season is the season of Mother Mary, the season of awaiting the birth of the Christ child, Lent has its own nature as something that is manifesting out of the unmanifest. So interestingly, there's 40 days, pretty much 40 days to Lent, which kind of corresponds to the days in the desert of Jesus, but also to the amount of time it takes to grow a child, 40 weeks in the womb to grow a child. So if we think about Lent as a time where we can reclaim all of the feminine aspects of ourselves and grow them in ourselves in order to manifest them at the time of Easter. So the death of the old way of thinking of the feminine and the birth of the fullness of the feminine aspect of God, the feminine aspect of creation, the devotion to the feminine in terms of the earth. If we look at the way we've treated the earth, rather than being stewards of the earth, we've used the masculine to lord it over the earth instead of protecting and preserving it, which is what the masculine was meant to do. We were asked to be stewards of the earth. That doesn't mean to, steal all of its resources and make it ugly and barren and polluted and toxic. But if you think about that as a metaphor for how the masculine has treated the feminine in people, that same thing has happened, that women have been beaten and that men have taken what they wanted and left the rest polluted and toxic and harmed. And I am not saying that all men are horrible, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that when the balance tips in either direction, it's out of balance. And it's been out of balance for long enough. And the way that we'll get the more beautiful world is by coming back into balance. We can see it on a global scale with more and more women leaders balancing out the powers, saying we must take care of our people, we must feed them, we must take care of our planet, we must have clean water and air, we must make sure that people have the health care that they need, the education they need, every one of them, every creature created by God, every one of them matters. And stop dividing by color, by creed, by gender, and devaluing only parts of that, or most of that actually, because what's left is what we saw in these past weeks, the out of balance white male power structure that never doesn't call itself to account. So I think there is no way to extricate spirituality and from politics or from movements like feminism or from religion. The religions have done their own damage to women by keeping them down and not letting them hold the power in their structures. Not having a lot of groups don't allow women to be leaders, priests, or ministers or rabbis. And so that disempowerment has become so systemic that people women have internalized it. And look where we are. So in the world of spirit, there is no imbalance like that. In the world of spirit, the feminine and the masculine are, first of all, exquisitely expressed in every being. And second of all, in the duality manifestation, Mother Mary is equal to Jesus, not subservient, not the vehicle that got Jesus here, although yes, she's that too, but equal in power. The same as Mary Magdalene, the same as Kuan Yin, the same as all of the powerful female beings who have come to the earth to express that part of human nature in order to make things right, to get us back on track. I do believe that age is coming, and I believe that we're part of it. So I'm really excited to think about how Lent will go in getting us back into that balance and bringing, allowing the old idea of the worldly feminine to pass away and rising up, resurrecting the truth of our spirit, of our being in the divine feminine and in ourselves and in the world. So that's going to be my focus for Lent. As an independent bishop, hallelujah, Jesus, I get to do whatever I like and whatever the Spirit moves me to do. And that's what the Spirit's moving me to do. And so I hope you'll come along for that ride. I think you'll find it very empowering and connecting. And we have an opportunity to be a part of the wave of that on the planet consciously and actively and powerfully. So there is the the talk on that for today. Um, I have a little glass of water up here, a chalice of water. So I'd like to take just a minute for you to um, do a little meditation with me before we finish. So we talked about last week the water of life, and water is one of the aspects of the planet that has been cared for and watched over by women for a long time. The wells of the Celts and others, and they were holy wells for healing. So I'd like us to take a journey back into the temple of our heart. And so if you want to close your eyes and take a breath and follow me there. So if you move your center of consciousness from your head down to your heart, and you see in your heart an archway, a doorway that's open, and you move toward that doorway and see that it's a room, it's a temple room. In the middle of that room is a walkway with a carpet rolled up to a throne, and on either side is water, living water, running in canals on either side of that throne. And you can begin to walk into that room, and as you walk, you could kneel down a little bit and touch the water with your hand and feel the aliveness of it, feel the cleansing of it and the energy in the water. And see that this water is running continuously, purely and pristinely through the temple that holds the throne of your own spirit, your own self. You might decide you want to splash some of that water on your face or wash your hands with it. Anoint yourself with the cleansing water that restores us to life. I imagine some of you might want to just, walk right into the water and fully baptize yourself in the waters of life. And you can go ahead and do that in your mind if that's how you're moved to progress. And eventually we'll find ourselves in front of the throne that is the seat of our soul and our spirit. And we can back up to that throne and sit down and feel the power of it, the power of who we are as manifestations of the divine in the flesh, here in this temple in our own heart and our own spirit. And again today, imagine that on a table next to you is a chalice of water. And this water has been blessed for you, so that not only on the outside of your body by bathing with the water in the canals, but also from this chalice, this blessed water, this holy water, will cleanse the inside of you, meaning your heart, your mind, your body, cleansing it of old patterns, of old hurts, healing it, restoring it to life and abundant life. So whoever is the image of the woman that you would want to be offering this chalice to you, the mentor or angel or Mother Mary, whoever comes to mind who's standing in front of you now as you sit at this throne, will lift the chalice and bless it so that it would be healing and restorative and clarifying. And then she hands the chalice to you, and you drink of that living water. And you allow the alchemical changes that happen when you have water moving into your body. It's purifying, it's hydrating, it's energizing, and it has its own spirit. It has its own healing properties that rush through your body as you take it in. They restore each cell of your body to balance, to hydration, to the plump and fullness that a cell is meant to have when it has all of the water it needs. And knowing that most of our physical form is actually water, can feel the blessing resonate through all of the water of our body, all of the water of our emotions and our psyche. And that clarity and vibration reminds our mental body that there is a higher force than our thinking mind, a deeper and more powerful source. So you can feel the water adjusting you homeostatically to balance in your being. So this throne becomes the blessing chair of Mother Mary or whoever came to offer you the chalice of water. And as you open your eyes and see her, you can see that she's looking at you differently, that she sees you as the fullness of your spiritual and physical being. And this throne is the throne of your higher self that you're merging with as you let go of the concepts of the world, let go of what doesn't serve you and the world any longer. And if you're not sure that that's there, you can invite your higher self to join you in the same space that your body is in, to come down into that throne and sit with you and merge with you so that you feel the power of your own being restored and reconnected. The power of confidence, of clarity, of compassion, of wisdom. And you sit and become familiar with her and what her energy has to express in the world. Take conscious note of what it feels like to be united with her. And sitting in your throne, open your eyes to look back toward that doorway that is the external world, the world of the flesh, world of the mind. And as you stand up from that throne, carry the essence of your higher self with you as you return through that doorway, knowing that the doorway is open. There's no obstruction to your returning to the seat of your own soul whenever you need to be restored. Now breathing deeply and coming back into your physical body, into the chair that you're sitting in and the room that you're in. And when you open your eyes, see through the eyes of your body and your spirit. And may you go into this day remembering yourself as a divine being made to manifest in the earth that which your heart knows is possible. I bless you for that. Have a lovely day.